Hello, everyone. Welcome back to MIRRORMOURN. I am your Dungeon Master, Esper. We have our regular four guys with us here. We're really far into this campaign. The stakes are getting so high. The tension has been building and building, and we are now entering the final planning stage of the assault on the lair of Balevonder. I think we can properly brand him the final boss of this campaign. Why don't you all run through your character names like usual, and then we will start with this important step before assaulting his lair.
Our characters or like our characters and our controlled NPCs both?
Oh yeah, go ahead and do both.
Well, in traditional order, hello everyone, I'm Warsor, and I'm playing Walykos, the level 10, for the first time I can say that, level 10 half-elf Fey Wanderer Ranger, recent subclass shift. And I will also be controlling the NPC Avacera, goddess of the White Raven.
I am Vince, and I am playing Vapor, the level 10 Wild Magic Sorcerer, as well as Brachno, the Jumping Spider.
I'm Nick. I am playing Nokki, the Barbarian / Fighter, as well as Severic Mantevel. So I get to play Mantevel again. Very stoked for that.
And I'm Adam, and I'm playing Aygir, the level 10 Armor Artificer, as well as Corgain Mikkel, the party's young crystal dragon ally.
So anyone who caught last episode will understand what's going on. I have asked the guys here if they would be up for running not only their regular character, but also one of the major NPCs who has been their party's allies throughout this campaign. There's a couple reasons for that. One is it takes some of the burden off of me because I'm going to have so much to run with this final dungeon. And the other great benefit of that is they'll get 2 turns because they'll be like probably long initiatives with big battles. And that's cool that you'll get to go twice every round. That's just double the fun. And hey, if someone's character gets killed, you still have someone that you're playing. So it's going to be very high stakes. You all have successfully found victory in the great games at the Sky Spire Palace, and your reward for that was this scroll of arcane summons and this sapphire that you attune or align with that, and you put the arcane summons onto the magic map. The magic painting technically is what it is. You mount up once again on your kite sails. You fly swiftly back to Barnacle. The armada of giants from Grootvatters are still at Holmesgate, out across the Blessed Waters there at the big entrance where the Blessed Waters meets the Sea of Lava there at the Obsidian Barrier. And they are at a kind of a sticking point due to the massive delay you all caused at the Battle of Holmesgate. So we're actually going to be starting off this session with a war room scenario. You all have returned back to Barnacle. You've had a couple, 2 long rests. You are in the private council chambers where you have met numerous times previously. The entire Vanguard is there. So all your party members and the NPCs that are associated with you. Corgain Mikkel, Arachno, Varric Mantevel, as well as other of the high-ranking royal knights. And Avacera. Now, Avacera, she's maybe a bit different. She might not actually just physically be flapping around right there. She's probably ethereally... she fades away into the ethereal oftentimes.
I have my familiar that she could speak out of its beak if she needs to.
Yeah, that could serve as sort of like a
Mouthpiece.
voice. Yeah, like a voice
Yeah.
for Avasira. And I think that's also much easier because when a god makes manifest into the material plane, it's a kind of an overwhelming thing.
Everyone just turns and looks to the god instead of what we should be focusing on.
Right. And is just like being blinded by the majesty. So the Duke is there. Duke Ormond Drakestone is there. Pin Drakestone is at his right, right there as his right hand man, his most elite royal knight. There's the Master of Rituals Duncan Mantevale and the Tower Wizard Crispin Hallows and Sorceress Flay, Captain of the Guard, and the I almost said constable. That's a completely wrong word. The advisor, Wellings. So
Seneschal Crane Wellings.
there we go. Seneschal. That's the word I was struggling for. So
Yeah.
all of the top minds dealing with the power structure in Barnacle, particularly the military force, are there. And the topic is the Vanguard's assault upon Vadenhold. That is the name of Belvander's stronghold. So there's a lot of different points that you all have been discussing regarding this. I like the idea of one of you starting off, and then I probably like each of you will have a different piece that you might want to contribute to this discussion. But we are in the final planning.
I will go last just because of sheer volume.
Well, I kind of feel like maybe we can go in order of one of your two characters, and then the other people, and then the other of your characters, something like that.
Avasira will go last. I will put that out there. Which I'm fine with starting it off however you guys want to do it.
Why don't we start with Walykos?
Yeah,
And then we can have Avasira last.
To be last that way.
Yeah,
spreads
that's
it way out.
fitting thematically, and because she has a lot going on.
Yes. So many options. Walykos. All right. We all know why we're here. Let's just get to it. Belvander needs to die, and we need to stop him as soon as we can with what we have available to us. We have the means now to find his lair. And thanks to Corgain Makel, we know that there is a secret entrance that he used once to get inside the lair. It has almost certainly been found by now, and it has been changed. I'm sure there are new defenses in place. Still, I think that may be our best way in using stealth and whatever abilities we have to overcome the defenses. As for what I can offer, I have access to spells that allow me to summon and charm, Fey spirits will now tend me, and I can dispel magic if we need to. I can silence, keep enemies from crying out, and I have just looking to make sure I'm not forgetting something special. Yes, I have the ability to basically be extremely stealthy at this point, and I think myself and a couple others might be able to sneak in through that entrance. A small strike team composing of, I kind of gesture to those present. Better than fighting the army of works.
So the layout that you know of, the general layout, is going to be a rocky, hilly region. And the stronghold is sort of nestled within some of these high, rocky crags. Indeed, I'll speak on behalf of Corgain Makel here. He is an elf form, and really it's a secret that you all are keeping, that he's actually a crystal dragon. So he says, indeed, it was a secret entrance, and I suspect that there are others. It would be very foolish to think that that secret entrance will be in the exact same state as it was all those years ago when I secreted Walykos out of there. When we must decide if it is worth it that we search around for another secret entrance. We can bet that he will have eyes in those hills. And if we are noticed, his
element of surprise is gone.
His forces can muster, and there will be many of them taken to the walls, taken to his ballistas.
Well,
if we're going to go for a straight attack, it would be best to do that swiftly and without giving them much chance to muster.
Mm-hmm.
Or if we're not wanting a straight attack, which is understandable, then we would need to use some special means of subterfuge to scout, to search through those hills.
Well,
He has eyes. He has eyes in the hills, and he has eyes in the sky.
I'm sure that we all have various means, but summonings, things that could go investigate for us that can be unseen. And honestly, we could speak to the spirits of nature in the wilds around there. They might know where, the birds and the animals might know where these secret entrances are. Animals get everywhere, as we are well aware. Even if you think that you've locked a place up, if there's a door, if there's a crack, anything, a rat, a centipede, a bird, something will get in or find a way. So
that is an ability that could, I think, disarm the foe. It's difficult to count on someone speaking with the small critters of the land.
The giants think so large. They think of the big things that are their enemies and destroying the elves and such. They ignore the tiny ants below their feet sometimes, just as we would. So,
I've also put a map up. You guys can also see it in Discord. The location that you're going to is, you sort of just cut west from Barnacle. Just keep going west. You'll pass this bay of crabs.
Where's this map?
I put it in Discord.
Yeah.
Oh, Discord. Sorry. Apologies.
Yeah. It's also on screen for everyone who's watching. If you just cut west from Barnacle, and you pass this bay of crabs, and you come to this peninsula that actually looks sort of like a crab claw.
Crab claw.
Yeah. It's called Havaclaw is the name of this peninsula. And the lair of Belvander is sort of in the middle of it. It's like southeast of the Orc lands, in the heart of Havaclaw. So it's really a pretty, by kite sail, it's mainly just a straight line west, and then a few more miles north once you get to the kind of heart of that rocky peninsula. Mm-hmm. That's where you're headed. So Duncan Mantevale nods his head. Indeed, many times
Scouting.
has Walykos employed such greater powers, such higher powers. It is not every day that one is able to read the murmurs and the chitters of the small creatures of the wilds. And while they are limited in their knowledge, and the way in which they describe things often is simplistic, it could lend to, say, the comings and goings of people from a different
secret entrance.
A different spot, not the, what might we call it, the great hive of stone
Yeah. I think that's definitely something. I can also offer us telepathic bonds that would allow us to easily communicate over vast distances, so the rest of us could stay back while the stealthiest of us do the little bit of scouting to avoid, to optimize, shall we say, our chances of not being found. No offense, Aygir.
The Duke says, "Do you plan to make this approach by night under cover of darkness? For if he has winged scouts, they would see kite sails approaching for miles."
Correct. We will be making it by land. We will land and approach on foot. I think darkness or just before darkness might be for the best. I don't believe any of us have problems seeing in the dark, and the one who does, I believe, Vapor, you have a spell for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Vapor's got
Vapor's
the
got
dark
a
vision
spell.
spell.
Yes, I think we can definitely utilize darkness to our advantage. Even if his creatures, his scouts, can see in the dark, they would have just as much difficulty spotting a hiding creature as us would, It would be
Sure.
both a
Considering dark
two-edged
vision rarely goes greater
Range.
than 120 feet, and
20 feet.
oftentimes it's 60 feet.
Yeah,
Arachno says,
yeah, please.
"The darkness will not impede my vision as it would Vapor."
Nice.
So he's either got something with the lenses that are over his eyes, or he naturally has dark vision. You're not quite sure.
Both are good. Darkness seems beneficial. We don't really suffer too much disadvantages from it. And while orcs comprise the main force, I know he has, I believe, 3 giants, including himself. So 2 other giants, I think, was the numbers.
You were told by, I think it was the spirit of Zelex, that Vapor
yes.
was interrogating, that there, aside from Balevonder, there are 3 true giants.
Yes.
So that would be like Hill, Stone, Fire, Frost, something in those categories.
Which is not to say there aren't ogres and other non-true
Yeah,
giant
lesser
trolls
giants or
things.
and
giant
stuff, yeah.
kin.
Yeah, trolls and such. Yeah.
Yeah, that Walykos, you already know that.
Yes.
Like, you-
I was
you-
just saying
you
it out
lived-
loud.
Yeah, you lived at Voddenhold. You mainly
few
kept
years.
to an area that was called the Lesser Halls. So you remember the Lesser Halls, which is a pretty big complex. It has lots of chambers and like function rooms and corridors, and then it connects to like some larger main corridors that connect to other quadrants.
Did he
Voddenhold.
have many elven people like me there serving him?
You remember some elves, and you remember some dwarves. Just I guess
gonna
humanoids
ask about the dwarves.
humanoids in
Yeah.
general. I think that's
Mhm.
I would just put that humanoids in general. Orcs. There were probably more orcs than there were any other kind of humanoid race.
Easy
But
to
you
impress them.
remember seeing brutish lesser giant kin. Yeah.
Okay. I relay that to everyone, and I say we're, even once we make it inside, probably going to face heavy resistance from forces as we make our way through. Stealth is a good option until it's not, unfortunately. That being said, I
Walykos, you
plan to
also
bring.
remember
Yeah.
lots of locked doors. Like
Yes,
there
lots.
were areas that were difficult to access if you didn't have a commander there.
If only
That
we
could
had
either
Adriel.
unlock it with a key, or had some kind of passphrase that would open a magic seal.
Yeah.
And there was always these very strict commands of, you don't go that way unless you
Traps.
are, under direct supervision of a commander, because either you're just going to be locked and you won't be able to get anywhere anyways, or you're going to stumble into a trap chamber.
Yep.
And traps can be bad. Can be quite
Lethal.
deadly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially at the level I was back then.
This might also be a point where Crispin Hallows contributes something, and he says, "You could expect different types of traps at a place like this. Some of them would be of an apparatus sort, a mechanical sort.
Yeah.
Perhaps a concealed bolt launcher in the wall that fires darts at you. It would attack you as would a regular foe. Those are typically triggered by perhaps a pressure plate disguised as a floor tile. Perhaps a trip wire, even. But that is not the only variety of trap that one could come across. No, I think you saw this down in the gauntlet. Below, where the dwarves of old were put through their bloody tests. No, some
Great
traps
trial.
are magical in nature. Glyphs and wards and imbued
Summoning
items.
things. Yeah.
Yes, they might summon, they might send out elemental blasts, they might boggle the mind. Those do not rely upon pressure plates or trip wires. No, they perceive typically, as one might understand, perhaps a bat would perceive,
Yes.
without the sight of fleshly eyes, but a sort of divination effect.
We understand, Crispin. The only thing we can do about those is keep our eyes open. I am highly trained at perceiving, so hopefully I will spot them. Any signs of a glyph, before we get close enough to activate it. And if we should run into them, well, we've dealt with them before. We have dispelling, we have Vapor's arcane knowledge. We have Avacera and the
someone
others.
who is proficient with Arcana or who is a spellcaster, when you're within 5 feet of a magic trap, like the source of a magic trap, a glyph or a focus object, you can attempt an Arcana check, sort of like how someone with Thieves' Tools might attempt to dismantle a device. Though you're not using physical devices, you are essentially tapping into the magic that is woven into the glyph or the focus or whatever it might be. Just like with a mechanical trap, if you fail that by 5 or more, you set off the effect.
Yep. So traps are a concern, for sure. The best we can do is try to gather as much information as we can once we're inside. Take a prisoner, perhaps. Get more up-to-date information from the prisoner. If that doesn't work, if we have to kill them, or it's not, they won't tell us things, and we don't have the time or magic to make them talk, then we should use, in my opinion, some sort of summoning or other things to test the way ahead. Scouting, basically, or one of us do the scouting themselves to whoever's best suited for it, to make sure we don't, as a group, suffer the effects of a trap.
Don't we have the find familiar spell? If I remember correctly,
Yes.
I think you have it,
Yeah,
right?
Walykos
That's a really
I
good
do.
scouting tool. Yeah.
But my familiar is limited into how she might set off traps. They might be keyed only to humanoids, for example,
Of course, yeah.
if it's a magical trap.
Yeah.
Or a pressure plate wouldn't exactly depress under a raven.
Do our spellcasters? I don't think Vapor does it, but like Crispin, does he have the
I have
that
a summoning spell.
No, I don't know the name of the spell. It's like Mind's Eye. It's like a spell where you can just use like a little
Arcane
orb that goes.
Eye.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's an
Does he
invisible
have
eye
that?
that you can send out and you can see through it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does he have that? That'd be really useful.
So, Crispin Hallows is capable of casting an Arcane Eye. Now, does this mean Nokki is asking if he will come with you?
No, Nokki. Yeah, Nokki wouldn't even know about this spell. Sorry, this
Okay.
was. I was just. Yeah,
Okay.
But
my
no,
bad.
no. There are divination spells
There has
which
not
could
been
be
talk
useful.
of the older gentlemen, Duncan, Manavale, and Crispin Hallows going.
But,
So far, the we confirmed is the Vanguard, and we can talk about if you all want to try to convince more people to come or try to
You know what? I
bring
guess I'll
some
say
group
this.
of soldiers or mercenaries.
I'll say this
I-
actually as Nokki maybe, because like although he doesn't know about like the specific spell, I think I can do this. So he'll be like just don't we have some sort of magic that could, I don't know, get us in somehow, like teleport, or I've seen Vapor do some interesting things. I don't know, maybe teleportation or a way to
What
make a wall see through. I don't know if that's how magic works.
Teleportation is very high level magic, and it can be warded against by much lower level magics. So it is a good bet that there is a sanctum or some sort of effect on this area to prevent just simply Belvander from having unexpected guests that, pop in unannounced. That being said, there are divination magics which can gather lots of information. Even with a scrying protection, which I would assume he has scrying protection, we could test that theory easily.
Yeah, to add to that,
Avacera, have you? Yeah.
to add to that in character, Aygir kind of looks over at Nokki and chimes in. Yes, we know for a fact that Belvander is able to watch what goes on outside his lair and to communicate as far away as Barnacle. Safe to say that if anybody tries to get in by those means, he would know about it. Referencing the statue that we found at the end of the Trial of Thrates,
Yep.
through which Belvander was able to actually contact people, like
Yes.
Adriel, for example.
Do we
Yeah.
perhaps
And
Just
just
perhaps-
gathering or understanding what you gathered from Adriel, it seems like Belvander would cast Ascending to Adriel from time to time.
Yeah. Yep.
perhaps and Nokki will look at Arachnid, say he seems quite nimble and small. Can he maybe squeeze his way in somehow and scout for us, or find a way to open up a door or secret entrance?
With a telepathic bond on him, that's a possibility, but
I
he
am
would-
ready and willing for that.
You see, he's ready and willing. It's a good
To
plan.
answer the teleportation question directly, your best teleportation at the moment is Vapor's Dimension Door.
Correct. And even that might be blocked.
Crispin Hallows doesn't
potentially.
have something that's better
yeah.
than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Well,
actually what
yeah.
Nokki was referencing, since that's the only one
And
he
Dimension
saw.
Door
Like,
is
he
a
saw
pretty darn good spell.
Or even
It
if it's
is.
not blocked, I would be concerned that, it just is something where he knows that people are there and will then attack them. And that's
If
no
I was
surprise.
Belvandor, I would set it up where if you try and Dimension Door and you just get stuck in a wall.
So here's my thoughts. Scouting is what we need to do. Like, we're all coming up with ideas for how to scout.
Yeah.
We need a phase of scouting, because without the information that we need, we're going in blind, and we all know that could go well,
From-
but it could also go bad.
From what I've heard so far, if this spell has a way of preventing magical scrying, is that what it's called?
Mhm. Yeah.
It may be best to have Arachnid or someone else who is stealthy go in, because wouldn't he detect us if we used magic and it was prevented?
Well, let me see what Avacera has to say. He listens to the Raven speak to him for a minute. And he says, Avacera says that she has many magics of divination, but one she could employ is a sort of fortune telling, divination, the literal divination spell, which, while not 100%, tells us what to do, it could give us important clues on where to look for our best successful scouting, or a course of what would be most successful, whether it's sending Arachno or, using magical scrying, for example. If magical scrying works, and this can tell us that it will work, then we have that option open to us. Now, divination is notoriously unreliable, but she says she's willing to try it. It costs her but a fraction of her, ability to do so.
So here's what I imagine.
Sure.
Walykos prays to Avicera, asking her for guidance, asking her for knowledge that will help in this fight.
Yes.
And
how would you
phrase the question?
Here's the question for the divination for you to utilize. I just want to look at the spell real quick because that'll help me. I don't have it in front of me. Divination.
I think you just ask a question about a goal or some sort of upcoming activity or event.
Within 7 days.
Yeah.
So it would have to be something that we're going to do within 7 days.
Right.
Otherwise, it won't be accurate anymore. That does put a time frame on our what we're going to do, which I wasn't quite ready to do yet. But I mean, she could always recast it, I suppose, and see if it comes with the same result. So my question is, how? Let's do this. Would we be able to use scrying on what was the name of his place? Vadenhold, to scout Vadenhold? I'm just going to keep it very simple. Would we be able to use scrying to scout Vadenhold? Fantastic. Perfect. Obviously, we need to be careful not to let our sensors be detected. I mean, every spell has a possibility to be detected. But
I just realized I was actually muted on OBS there. So the response of everyone was, yes, you can view and listen from a distance using divining. And she might actually say we, right? Because she might actually be the one doing the scrying.
Yeah, most likely. She has that ability. Okay, guys, we could do some scrying ahead of time to get an overview. At least get a sort of a map. Not a map like Esper's map, but I mean like one of our hand-drawn like maps of where the tunnels, lead and things like that.
Let's do that then. So, okay. Maybe your familiar flies up into the air, and there's a bit of a glowing effect, and the light casts an image, maybe almost like projects a divine
on the wall
image, right? A scrying image on the wall, and what you see is certainly helpful and noteworthy. You see first a great rocky landscape, and you're seeing it from a bird's eye view as though a bird flying overhead. And the hills, they'll rise up high and they'll merge with other hills. It's just a craggy landscape. And then sort of tucked within some of the hills is this giant's castle or giant's stronghold. And it has very high exterior walls, thick, high stone exterior walls. and they rise up higher than the highest hilltop. And there's also this tower that's like in the middle of the stronghold, and it rises up even higher than the exterior walls. And you see, kind of spaced out along this curtain wall, there are like the crenellations, and there are these ballista mounted ballistas. And it seems to be all around. So there are ballistas that could shoot in kind of any direction. You see another bird flying in the air. That's of note. I mean, other than just like a regular bird, you see something that, when you first notice it in this projected image, you think it's a hawk. But as the projection is, slowly zooming in, it's almost like this bird flying in closer and closer to the stronghold.
Yep.
It's
She's
not
focusing it
it's
all.
not feathers. It's made of some kind of metal. It is flying, and it's hawk-like, and it just is soaring up there, surveying.
I ask her, is that your bird, or is that Belander's agent?
It is not mine. Clearly a construct of the enemy.
Yep. Good to know.
Okay.
How big
so,
would we say that is? Like, is it bird-sized, or is it like...
Yeah, it's like a small-sized creature.
Got it.
It doesn't, just looking at it, just kind of getting a general read, it doesn't look like a particularly powerful physically.
But that's not what its purpose
strong
is.
constructs before, yeah. But it flies and seems to have this great aerial overview.
Even if
And
it was only a homunculus, like that guy, it could send information back.
Dunka was his name that Connor Spindle had.
Yeah.
He died, yeah, the new one's Mercy. Mercy. And getting a little closer to the stronghold, there are also some things roving about the hills. Beast constructs. They're four-legged, quadrupedal, made of, again, metal, and they are just patrolling. They'll walk up and down the hilly slopes and maybe leap from one shelf to another of the stone. There is a strong front gate in that stronghold wall. There are a number of structures within the curtain wall. There's a couple open areas. There's like this one big kind of stony plaza or bailey, and you see even some soldiers training there or drilling. There are some stairs. You see some different stairways. You see another heavy fortified double door that leads into the main keep of the stronghold.
Okay.
You see mainly humanoids. Many of them are armored to one degree or another. There are some
Can we get
like
a rough count, like just to the nearest 100 or whatever, estimation.
You're not seeing hundreds, but you are seeing
Okay.
dozens.
Ooh,
You
okay.
remember a number of like the sergeants or the commanders, and they were these like elite types of orcs. So
Yeah.
you're seeing some of them, and they have really nice armor. And then just the basic foot soldiers, their gear is what you would imagine, like the milled, mass-produced sort of gear.
So
that
there's no
is
garrison
functional.
here so much as there is a platoon or whatever.
That's what you're seeing exterior-wise.
Yeah.
The majority of Vattenhold is actually underground.
Got it.
Or within the hills.
Mhm.
Though the exterior portion is quite big. You do see one fire giant as well, who seems to be trying to get a couple of ogres to haul some kind of load of stone to cut.
Do
perhaps.
I recognize him? Who that is? Can I make any sort of knowledge?
Yeah, make an intelligence check.
Can I make it with advantage thanks to my ranger favorite enemy,
Mhm.
giant?
Mhm.
Go ahead. Just intelligence.
Mhm.
It's a good roll. That's a slightly lesser roll. So with my whopping +0 intelligence, that's an 18.
Gorus. You remember him, Gorus. A pretty brutal and cruel taskmaster. And like many fire giants, he wears this plated armor and carries this massive greatsword.
Okay, so we have one fire giant named Gorus, who seems to be commanding people outside. Okay. Anything particular I know about him? Like he's strong but stupid, not very tactical in fighting. He just wants to smash things, or is he like, I'm gonna stand back and order my men to fight and just join in when it looks like a good opportunity?
He is intelligent. He's pretty smart.
Yeah,
You
he's
wouldn't
not a
call
hill giant.
Yeah, you wouldn't call him genius, and you wouldn't even say that he has a large breadth of different kinds of knowledge. But the things that he knows of combat and battle tactics and building, I would say he has sound intelligence in those areas.
He would use
He's
the
pretty
advantages.
He's pretty perceptive.
Oh,
Yeah, he's not like a absent-minded or unaware. Yeah, he's got a cunning about him and a
Got
pretty
it.
forceful personality.
all right. I give all that information. So if we can scry this place, it's definitely not magically warded in that way, but odds are when we get inside underground, there's going to be lots more wardings, lots of specific areas that are more protected. This might be a little bit of a slog, but if we sneak in, I think we can avoid a lot of the frontal assault that we might have to go through with the ballistas, the orcs, the giant and his ogres, including whatever reinforcements they can summon up, which will no doubt be coming as soon as the fight starts. That bird interests me. I wonder if there are more of them or just that one. And if we know where that bird is at all times, we can avoid it, in our scouting mission, to find the secret entrance.
You saw multiple of the four-legged ones patrolling in the hills. And the bird didn't seem like any kind of major construct, so
Yeah.
you would probably safely assume there are more than one of those birds.
Okay.
Either they just wasn't in the angle of the scrying view, or they were off, a mile away.
Yeah, there's definitely. We can ask the animals about these metal constructs so we know a path to avoid them. The animals know their home, and they know metal construct is in it. So odds are we can find a safe path through them when the time comes.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we can also see if we can find that secret entrance that's not the one that we used last time. Anyone else got ideas? Like, I have a lot more to get through, but I've been waiting to see if you guys are done with scouting ideas.
I think I've given the ideas that I thought were best, which was like using Arachno or
Hmm.
doing the eye, like the arcane eye.
Which is
Well-
kind of what we just did with the scrying, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
The arcane
Most of
eye
mine
is
are
really
about
good
fight.
when you're actually at the dungeon
The site,
and you're like
Yeah,
sending it into the next room over,
yeah.
or some ways through the hills.
Adam, what do you want to say?
Oh, just that most of my ideas are about fighting, so scouting can be covered before
Let's
that.
let's move from the scouting phase now to the
I got one but
preparation to
I'm
fight
not sure-
phase. Yeah.
I have one that might be worth scouting.
Okay.
We could, if we were doing it just like scouting, then going in the next day, could do the Draconic Spirit to scout from a bird's eye view.
Well, the birds would see it though. Anything that we
that would
summon
be the
and
one
send
thing.
would
Yeah,
give
so
away
that's the
our.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one thing. It's not a great thing, but it's something we could use.
Okay. Well, summoning, we'll keep that on the table.
Yeah.
Let's come back to the scouting phase later if we come up with new ideas while we're talking. But for now, I think we have a base layout. We have a plan to get more scouting information once we're closer. But we've done what we can from Barnacle, basically, with a scrying spell and a divination spell.
Hmm.
And we'll come back, to other long-range scouting. So, preparation for fighting stuff. I've been talking a lot. Why don't we have Adam or Nick, talk about what are your preparations before you even get there, or if you want to go a little bit into when the fighting breaks out, this is what I'll do.
I do kind of agree with you earlier when you mentioned doing like a small strike force, rather than like just barging in the doors. Like even Nokki, I think, would agree that just barging in the doors, you're going to have a lot more casualties than if you do a small strike force. Like obviously, if the small strike force doesn't work, yeah, barge through the doors. But better to do the safer and more efficient option than to just not even try it.
Yeah. And our goal here isn't to break this place as a fortress and take it militarily. We are here to kill Balvander
Exactly.
and to destroy whatever he has in motion.
Yeah, and if you defeat the sort of the general / king, right, the person who's running everything, then it breaks the morale as well, which is a huge thing.
He is the linchpin that holds it all together. If he's gone, even his lieutenants are going to have a hard time holding his many spinning things together.
Yep.
That being said, I do want to try and kill as many of them as possible, set off a bomb, self-destruct the entire base as we run for the X and jump at the last second. But let's be realistic here.
Our mission is assassination, not takeover. And Barnacle has armies. There are armies coming from Plethoris, even forces from Terra Morgana. They can do that after we kill Balvander.
I was going to say, we need those forces here in case Holmesgate attacks. So our whole thing is we are the elite strike force, and we should think like an elite strike force. So, and yes, we're a powerful enough strike force. We could go for the front gate and try to brute force it, and probably succeed temporarily. We could probably take out the initial gate. We would suffer so much.
Another issue too is like, let's say we do the big strike or the like just storming the gates, right? Let's say we get through. Why wouldn't Balvander just like run away? I can just
send
get
reinforcements.
We need surprise. We need him dead above all else, which means we need surprise. We need to catch him by surprise.
So surprise.
We either need.
Tell me about surprise. Like, how are you going to keep the surprise element as long as possible? What do you have?
Well, so I don't have his character voice, but Corgain and Aygir will almost in unison mention that whoever is scouting and whoever is going in first will be guided by magic, i.e. the spell guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And then
always good.
That both of them are able to deal a fair amount of damage fairly quickly once put in the right place, and that between telepathic communication and the fact that Corgan Mikkel can assume a form that is not his draconic one and can assume different appearances, that should be able.
You probably would like just allude to that, not say it out front of the whole war council, because Corgan,
Well, right,
but,
and Aygir would look
but
at
we
him
have
and say,
ways of changing.
Yeah.
We could disguise ourselves, and I just look at Corgan, and he just gives a little half nod, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
We've
Magic
used
for
disguises
disguise.
before.
Magical disguise.
Ruses and glamours to great effect. Such deceptions
Honestly,
can disarm the enemies before they
That's a-
even know what they've gotten themselves into.
and
That's honestly not a bad idea.
But I'm not sure he even recognizes me, unless he knows what we all look like. Not the way he would know you, for example, and he looks at
But
all
here's
of
the
us.
thing: he wouldn't necessarily have a hobgoblin walking around with a Genasi with a elf. If we all form ourselves into a certain, race that's less suspicious, like I don't know, a dwarves, that serve Balvander.
Or perhaps a pot giant, Nokki says.
Perhaps. Esper, what would be the most numerous? Would it be orcs, dwarves? What do I think would be what I saw when I was there? I feel like dwarves would be pretty numerous because they served the giants for so long.
But
Dwarves would probably
orcs are
be
his
the
army,
best.
though.
Orcs are his army, but we saw like an elite orc force, and I'm a little worried that he wouldn't just have orcs wandering inside, necessarily. He might want to keep them as an external shield.
Yeah, orc and dwarf are both pretty numerous. Sheer quantity, you would go orc.
Well, so then I guess the question
they
becomes:
reproduce much faster than dwarves do.
Do you want to look like orcs, like elite orcs, or like elite dwarves? Because Thraits would probably have the most access to his inner sanctum, but he might know the exact numbers and names of all the Thraits that he has
yes,
under his command.
he would know that. But who are we running into in the hallways but other,
Well, probably the other
servants?
members of his inner circle who might know all the others. So
It's a very big complex. We aren't going to run into a member of his inner circle every step we take. I'm saying this could provide an extra layer. Not that this should be our only layer of surprise, but I think we should look into some illusion disguise.
So who is able to do that among us?
Crispin Hollows.
Hats of disguise, do those require attunement?
How are we able to get those?
That's a good question. That's what I'm going to open up to the War Council. They do require attunement, so they're not a great option. But disguise self, I'm pretty sure.
Well, we can also do different things for different people.
No,
like for
I
Aygir,
don't
he
know if
can
anyone in the
attune.
party can cast disguise self. Duncan Mantevale can cast it.
Is an
Right.
artificer
Crispin
and
Hallows
a
could
sorcerer
cast
spell.
it.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
but
if we
Aygir
got
doesn't have
scrolls, then
No concentration required.
It's
for
no
it.
concentration. Mm-hmm.
That is nice.
It lasts for what, an
How-
hour or 10 minutes? I think an hour.
1 hour.
1 hour.
Yeah, 1 hour.
so if we were to get multiple scrolls of it,
Scrolls
or
are
if
cheap.
So
somehow,
let's check with Duncan Mantevale.
or
Yeah.
Vader would
regarding
need to learn how to
scrolls.
cast it because he doesn't know how to cast that spell.
Does House Mantevale have such of these scrolls on hand? Well, certainly. We have 2 of them.
Okay. Now,
That's better than nothing.
it's better than nothing, and this is one layer of we cast it once we're inside to avoid people asking, why is there a hobgoblin walking around with this air genasi? Like, they probably know who belongs there and who doesn't. And disguise self could certainly
Mhm.
What if,
allay
uh,
some suspicion.
Yeah, Aygir
What
and
if we,
Vapor
like,
can both use those scrolls.
Yes.
What if we like?
So
did
why don't you
something
just both
where-
write that down now? Vapor and Aygir both got a
Take a
scroll
scroll.
of
Well, so wait,
disguise
they have.
self.
What if? What
have
if we did
scrolls,
some?
Do they also have hats of disguise? Because Aygir can attune to multiple items. So if he has a scroll,
yeah,
he can use
you
it on
have-
someone else.
But no
and
one
wear a
else can
hat
cast
himself.
the scroll.
No, but he
Oh,
could
is
cap.
is the
It's
target
self-
on
Cast a
it
himself?
is
scroll onto
self.
somebody else, can't he?
Well, it's disguise self.
No, it's a self.
It is.
It is a self spell.
Quick,
Yeah.
quick thing. I can still
Um,
attune to like one more item. I think so.
Okay, Duncan
That's
Mantevale can provide a hat of disguise.
Nice.
Awesome. Also,
Okay.
like there is an option as well. We could do like one of those situations where some of us are disguised and then we
Yeah.
pretend to be prisoners.
Prisoners.
the ones
Yeah.
that- yeah, exactly.
Class.
Again, a classic thing.
Where are you
disguising-
going with that thing?
To the place where it goes.
Well, no, we could be like mercenaries, and it's like, oh, like we found we capture these guys, we
Mhm.
know who they are, we take them in to get a reward.
So,
Well-
Nokki, you have a hat of disguise.
Okay.
Okay,
And
so
then Corgain-
three Vanguard members have access to a disguise. Nokki can use his
But
whatever the hat is
remember-
once per day or something, and then Vapor and I.
But
can have
remember, we're not
skills.
alone here. We have Corgain, we have
Yeah.
Arachno, we have others who are going to need these things.
Well,
Arachno probably could use one of the scrolls.
Corgain does not. Corgain can change shape. He's set.
Yes.
So we
I
have
agree.
him, we have two scrolls, we have a hat. So now that leaves...
Avasera can be ethereal. She'll be with us without being with us necessarily.
So that leaves Walykos, Crispin... No, not Crispin.
I
Powers,
would say give the hat
Mantevale.
to Arachno, only because of his race would might make him stand out. I think Nokki being giant kin would be less likely to stand out. And less questions asked.
So here's
I would say,
yeah.
given everything you all know, there would be other half giants there,
Yeah.
aka Goliaths. Probably not a lot, but there would be some.
Well, I mean,
Whereas
we know...
Arachno, that would be highly unlikely that there is a
Yeah.
small person there.
Right.
Hey,
we
just
we
a-
know
just
of Entatark, I forget his title, the half giant
Let's-
that Sir Balehonder
There's
earlier
an
fought.
example. Yeah.
Let's
Just a-
let's
Yeah,
not
but,
get too
A
Just a quick
halfling-sized person, that... I don't even know if Walykos even remembers seeing a halfling, a goblin, a gnome, whatever else might be that size.
yeah.
Just
So
a
we
quick
can
thing
use-
as
I mean, if
well.
you just think about the history of the world, it doesn't even make sense.
Gnomes
even.
were created, by
Because
the elves.
halflings and gnomes came later with the elves, so that
Yeah.
it's not
They
impossible.
wouldn't want.
It could
they
be
wouldn't
like
want
Belvonder's, tentacles or network got one later. It is possible.
But that
It's
but
very
that would
rare.
stand out. Yeah. And we don't want to stand out.
Right,
Sorry,
you'd be like, oh,
what were
that's
you
that
saying?
one halfling that we all know of.
Yeah. What was someone saying just a second ago?
Oh, yeah. So I was looking at my character sheet just to make sure. I actually am already attuned to 3 things, so I would not be able to use the hat. Assuming.
Don't worry
yeah,
about it.
someone else can use
Forget.
Yeah.
We're getting too lost in the weeds. Here's the thing: we use the disguises to the best effect. You know if you've got
Yeah.
them. You've got the hat. You've got the hat. You've got the scrolls. You've got the scrolls. Turn into dwarves. Make yourselves look. We'll talk over your disguise using information that we've gathered, and okay, let's say we're inside now. We're inside the place. We've found best case scenario. We find a secret entrance. We go in, and we're now walking the halls, trying to avoid falling into traps. Let's say we run into a patrol. How do we pretend, and not get off the alarm set? Go. Everyone contribute what you can do to.
We bash their skulls in so they fall unconscious, and then we drag their bodies away.
That is definitely one option that I call that plan fallback. Everything will fall back to
You
that
say
plan.
this, Walykos, but this has worked for me many times in the field.
I believe it, and I'm actually saying that might be the option. But generally speaking,
I have
Yeah.
a point that I think is very much worth considering.
Says Duncan
Yeah.
Mantevale.
please.
Being that we have just seen these metal beasts, do any of us have a clue as to what they actually are? Aygir?
Aygir, I turn the floor to you.
Well, I have not seen them up close. Nor have you, nor have any of us. But I have seen things like this. We've all seen things like this. Remember, down below, in the place where the
Actually, we
threats were
did
raised,
see
where the
one
fire
up
giants
close.
used to rule, we have seen similar things. They are likely driven by crystals of some sort that I don't fully know. I've never had a chance to study them in depth, though I am close to that
Right.
fact and would like to at some point, but there's no time for that now. I
Weren't
think
there, like,
they have something to
souls?
do.
Yeah.
Yes, though I'm not sure how they are extracted exactly, unless you have some knowledge from your time with Balefond of how that works.
Well, I would assume he rips their souls out and puts them in a crystal. I mean,
Oh, yes, I'm sure he just uses a pair of gardening shears and cuts the sword right out and just
there's
jams it in
magic
there and pops
involved.
the cork.
He's a mage.
Walykos
You know.
heard things. Walykos heard
Yeah.
things about these rituals to find ways to power the metal guardians.
Yeah.
I do suspect that these birds are something akin to that, which I would not worry about them personally. If we can evade their sight, that is better than ever having to deal with them. They are.
We did
Not
fight
something-
several of them ourselves, and we did find their power source is the soul that's trapped in these crystals. I don't know that we could target the crystals specifically, and that can, shut them down, but
Yes,
you have
but
to be
our-
able to.
Our
Yeah.
best course of action is not to allow ourselves to be seen by anyone until long past the point at which those would be able to see us.
All right. Well,
But I
This is
believe,
why we are
I believe
discussing-
the question has not been satisfied, Aygir. Does the bird just merely look upon someone and then fly back to some commander and squawk some code?
Yeah. because if we take them out, can we stop them from reporting, or is it telepathically?
What of the four-legged beasts? Do they howl? Do they snort?
There is no way to know that.
Are
for
things
sure,
things
but
dumb constructs? Are they intelligent?
there is
I-
no way to
I-
know that exactly. But I think it's safe to say
Why
that
don't-
if Balefond can communicate with a statue here in Barnacle, he can probably see.
What kind of an artificer are you? There's no way to know that for sure. You have examples to look at. You can study them. We have them from the crumble. Take it to your tower with Connus Spindle and find
I
us
was
an
just
answer.
gonna have the Duke speak
Oh,
up. He probably
I also
overtalks Walykos. Aygir,
Yeah.
You go to the broken tower this instant and speak with Spindle. Get any knowledge you can. I don't care if he has to dust off some old book that he hasn't read in 5 decades. We need to know what the hell those things are.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
I also out
Do
of
they
character
blast
wasn't sure how
fire
much
from a
time-
distance? Do they
Wasn't
incinerate
sure how
you?
much time we
Do they
actually
speak?
had. So if we
We
have
have
a
as
couple
much
of
time as
days,
it takes.
then he wouldn't have said that. He would have said, "Oh,
We don't have
I will
much
further
time.
Study."
Make haste.
We do have a
Take a
couple of
Nikes.
Okay.
Walykos is like, I think we should take a couple of days, but we'll get to that. Vapor, what about you if we run into a patrol in the halls? Aside from just blasting them, I know you can blast them. Do you have any other suggestions other than just killing them? For example, I have.
We've got a
the ability
good
to
suggestion
charm.
from Real Holtzinator. Why don't you
I'm
ask the
curious.
constructs you rescued from the lava forge?
Yeah, we did rescue a bunch of constructs.
The Drossguard, yeah.
The
that's
Dross
true.
guards.
Thank you,
Because they are,
Holtzinator.
they're dwelling. They're
No,
dwelling at the
Holtzinator
Arcane
is part
Cell
of this
now.
council. Like
I
he's
was about
here,
to
he's,
say
like, over
Holtzinator
there.
is like a knight in the corner, and he's like, "Sorry, it's not my place to speak, but didn't you rescue some
Excellent
constructs?"
point, Sir Holtz.
You're right. It's not your place to speak. Now, didn't you guys save some constructs that one time?
Good stuff.
Fortunately, Vapor doesn't have much in that magic sorts. I can't really do much.
Vapor can try to explode the constructs and shut them
Okay.
down.
So,
Yeah,
so we run into them. You'll just do damage, but like invisibility. Like I'm just
yeah, I
thinking
was
of ways
just gonna
to
say
avoid
invisibility.
Do
fighting. I'm
any
sure
of
you have invisibility.
have
Yeah.
invisibility?
That lasts as long as a disguise
Yeah, it's
spell
1
does.
hour or until you take some attack or cast a spell.
And it can do a lot to avoid us from.
Invisibility
Now
is
it is
super
more
useful.
suspicious if they can see us. for sure. And traps don't care about invisibility, but Vapor, you have invisibility, right?
No, I don't.
What? All right.
No,
Sorcerer, why don't you have
so-
all the magic we need at all times?
Duncan
so out of
Mantevale
character, I built
is
Vapor
flipping
to be
through
very,
his log again. Scrolls of
damage dealing.
invisibility.
Yeah.
I have one on hand.
Okay. I mean, it's better than nothing. If
All
we
right,
need it,
Vapor, you have a scroll of invisibility. That
could
you can place
cast that.
upon yourself or someone else.
or
that you,
someone else.
within touch.
Yeah.
That being said, I do have the ability to make myself greater invisible